This question is inspired by our community connection last night.
Hmm.
So I noticed that more and more people are opening up to the soul gifts of light language.
Hmm.
And I am curious, obviously it serves its purpose that more people are awakening to this gift. Um, is light language like from one aspect of our soul self?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I feel as though what I'm hearing is that it's all of the above, right? And everybody enters into everybody that chooses to enter into a relationship with light language, and it's many different ways of being brought through and communicated. Has a unique blueprint, of course, and that therefore a unique participation in it. So it may be that someone's blueprint is to receive the light language spoken through another. And in that reception, certain codes and frequencies and gifts and technologies, threads of communication within that person are activated and ignited, yet perhaps they would have chosen in their blueprint to not necessarily knowingly or consciously participate from that point forward in expressing light language themselves. That said, all of our ways of communication, even as we speak the spoken words of, let's say in this case, the English, we're speaking a language that has been created, right, in a way in which perhaps wasn't necessarily initially woven in the intention of bringing through light. And yet we are each divine instruments and channels of our highest source self, of our oversoul, as well as we are channels of many different streams of consciousness, thoughts, beliefs, that stream through the collective human collective body, right? The environments in which we live here and reside within and upon Earth. So by our divine design, we are a channel. We are a channel. We are pure source. We are a unique individuation of pure source light, sound, and plasma. And the more we allow ourselves and participate in our own unique ways and our own unique expressions of our blueprints to ignite our crystalline nature, the more we conduit and bring forth greater and greater and greater and greater bandwidths of light, of plasma, and higher octaves and frequencies of our source sound signature as well. So even in the spoken words of the English language, we are receiving light. We are receiving certain light codes that come through because we are light, right? And the more light we become, the more light we speak, the more light we shine, the more light we express in our communication. So I just wanted to bring that in to help to facilitate the greater understanding of the many, many infinite, in fact, ways in which light is expressed and communicated here. We then kind of go into the what I feel you're more directing the question towards, right? Of spoken words that don't necessarily have a context within any of the current languages that are accounted for within the collective of humanity, right? Certain sounds and combinations of sounds and frequencies that are now most often referred to as light language. And there is an infinite range of how light is expressed. As we know, there are infinite creational systems, infinite planetary systems, infinite collectives, infinite communication systems within those collectives, right? So there are innumerable expressions of light language that can come through any given person, and again, based upon their blueprint. And so simply, the more crystalline one becomes, the more activated their divine crystalline channel becomes, the more one is capable of bringing in different ranges and bandwidths of this light language, right? Of spoken words and or sounds that are the interpretation of a flow and a streaming in of light. So when one chooses to do that, they're igniting their own codex within as well, right? They're bringing in certain frequencies and codes to ignite and assist in the transformation and transition, if you will, of carbon-based to crystalline DNA. But it can't even be brought into that finite or that narrow scope of a description even, because again, everybody has a different way of participating in this, right? Then we know that light language also comes through the eyes. We bring in light through the eyes, and the ocular technology interprets this light, brings it in, threads it into all the different systems, the meridians, gateways, chakras, portals within our body, right? And activates different functions within our physical, mental, emotional, and spirit body, right? So we're receiving light language and communication through our eyes. And additionally, one of the ways as we ignite lots of our technologies and gifts and abilities as our highest source selves begin to further embody, our monadic templates further embody, we can also send light from our heart centers, from our different energetic hubs within, and send light out through our eyes, which is another form of light language, right? As we know, light language can also come, our hands are an extension of our hearts. Our hands are a direct extension of our hearts. We have many chakras, meridians, portals of access, of energetic access through our hands. So we can also conduit light from the earth, from above, from below, from all spaces in between, and bring it out and through our hands. And this is often takes place in different systems of mudras and movements with our hands, right? So we're bringing through and igniting and sharing light in this way as well. So these are just a few of the many, many, many different ways in which one can engage in sharing and expressing and communicating light. Light being information, right? Massive systems of information. And again, there can never be one answer as to why or how one chooses to participate in it and for what purpose, you know, they participate in it, right? It's going to be unique for each and every person. We can also channel our own highest self and oversoul light, and we can choose to channel certain collectives or certain frequency bands of light, right? And so there's just, it's such a huge area and topic of exploration. I'm going to pause there for a moment to see if there's anything more sort of within that wants to be touched on.
So these gifts, what I'm channeling through is not only like Arcturian, Palladian, or even, you know, like consciousness, I don't know, you know, from far away. So is it more like just a translation of energy, of light across species? I don't know if I could say that.
Yeah, well, so again, there is absolutely the presence and participation of that. You know, there are certain frequency bands that you can bring through that are more multiversal, if you will, or universal in nature, meaning sort of part of the unified field and sort of core construct, if you will, which is hard to put into words, right? There's certain bandwidths of light that come through that hold a pristine nature and are more sort of universal in their participation, right? They don't have, it doesn't have a particular a singular use or a that would be even a not an accurate way to describe it. I'm trying to see what I'm being shown here. Yes, so there are certain bandwidths of light that remain in, you know, in a pristine and unwavering nature. They fall within, we can look at them sort of as falling within the codex of the system of creation that holds the divine infrastructure within the spark of creation complex, if you will. And that even brings it to a fairly generalized format. So these threads of multiversal, universal, however one wants to look at them, universal meaning used throughout massive, if not all in some way, systems of creational existence. Those stream through and are very infinitely and widely participated in, right? Whereas then there are certain streams of light and that has been coded and participated in and curated by certain collectives, and it holds a much more narrow scope of participation and purpose. So, but then there are all sorts of systems of light and codex in between, right? And so there can never be one way of participating in it or one way of describing its participation. And based on a person's blueprint and what they come in with in terms of the specifics of their oversoul template, their monadic template, also varies greatly between one person to another. And also in that variation, there is great uniqueness, if you will, between one person and the next in terms of to what degree and bandwidth of light that they're able to access and bring through and participate in here. It also has a lot to do with where the collective is consciously, what is capable of being held, where Sophia Gaia is in terms of her overall unified field of resonance and what can be brought forth and even let's just say in this case heard, right? What could be brought in, translated, and even heard in a accurate interpretation. So lots of things play into how this light is able to be communicated from one person to the next person, from one collective to the next collective, and that's evolving and shifting and changing in every single now moment, because each one of us as fractals of the whole are evolving, shifting, and changing in every now moment. Yeah. That was really an amazing question and an interesting question, because as soon as you brought that in, there was, you know, matrices within matrices within matrices within matrices, and it was like, you know, trying to follow the systems and get an accurate way of sharing it. But even as I was trying to share it, it was changing in its way of being, you know, to, I think, further exemplify, you know, how massive and infinite the scope of language communicated, interpreted, participated in through light is, right? It's so massive. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that is such amount of excitement listening to you, and I don't know, something is very exciting. It's very excited about hearing this, receiving this message. But then the human part of me was like, oh my God, can I, next time I need to bring down some human questions so I could just.
No way. Keep them coming. That this is what, helps us to expand and recognize, and, maybe to a little pinhole degree to what to what depth there is to the eternal and infinite fabric of existence, right? It's so incredible. And one thing I do hear your highest self saying in this is, we can access our greatest facilitation and participation in our gifts, in our technologies that are, that are present within us in any now moment, through the heart, and not through the mind. And then there again, we are constantly channeling, our mind and the collective mind hive, right? Until we shift ourselves into greater, build that muscle, and that muscle memory, if you will, right, of shifting into our 0 point connection, connecting with our highest source self, right, connecting with our oversoul. And so really, to be able to bring through and to explore and to play and to participate in the greatest exploration of what light languages desire to be spoken through us or experienced through us, is to really drop into the heart and allow ourselves to free ourselves of any limitations that the mind may try to participate in, right? Because as soon as the mind dives into it, we create a different pathway of communication, right? Now we, instead of accessing the everything and the no thing in relevance to where our hologram exists in any given moment, now we're accessing a very narrowed, sort of scope of participation, and there's nothing wrong or right, good or bad about that. It's just, what are we wanting to and desiring? What is our intention, right? What is our intention of within the experience?